Genesis 16, 1 through 6. Now Sarai, Abram's wife, had borne him no children, but she had an Egyptian slave named Hagar. So she said to Abram, "The Lord has kept me from having children. Go, sleep with my slave. Perhaps I can build a family through her." Abram agreed to what Sarai said. So after Abram had been living in Canaan 10 years, Sarai, his wife, took her Egyptian slave Hagar and gave her to her husband to be his wife. He slept with Hagar, and she conceived. When she knew she was pregnant, she began to despise her mistress. Then Sarai said to Abram, "You are responsible for the wrong I am suffering. I put my slave in your arms, and now she knows she is pregnant. She despises me. May the Lord judge between you and me." "Your slave is in your hands," Abram said. "Do with her whatever you think's best." Then Sarai mistreated Hagar, so she fled from her.
Good morning. It's great to see you all. I hope that you have had a good week this past week, and that now we have this opportunity to be together and to just bring our full worship before our loving and wonderful Father. We are in a study on Abraham and trying to understand and look at his life, his faith, and to see how that really shows us a whole lot about our faith and how we relate to our great God. Today we're going to continue that series, and we're going to be in Genesis chapter 16. But really, this chapter asks us to slow down. I will be honest with you, I have sat with and struggled with this chapter this week. It is not a triumphal moment for Avram. If chapter 15 was the height, if that was the mountaintop, chapter 16 is shown to us in contrast, and this is the depths of the valley for Avram. We're going to see God's chosen people act in ways that fracture trust and reveal how easily faith can bend under pressure. And I hope that if we're honest, even in the midst of this chapter, we may recognize some things of ourselves. I was sort of thinking about, okay, how do I best convey this chapter? And what I've decided is, I think the best is not for us to sort of go through with points and structures and a whole lot of application from my end of it. I'm actually going to leave that to you all. Today, I want us to sort of go through and listen to this text from the perspective of the one who had the least voice in the story. I will put a few elements of reflection on the screen for you. But for the most part, I just want us to listen to the story. This chapter is going to tell us some essential things about who God is. But to clearly see that, we must slow down and sit with the one who suffered most in it. And so today, I want you, and I invite you, to listen to the story of Hagar. And hopefully just give me a little bit of latitude as we go through this, because this is a very weighty chapter of what happens in the life of God's chosen people. I belong to Sarai. I was brought from Egypt. I've been a slave girl most of my life. I did not choose this land. I did not choose this family. I belonged to Sarai. For years, I watched my master Avram as we moved from place to place in the land. Waiting seems the best word to describe him. I heard that his God, Yahweh, had promised to give him descendants, as many as the stars in the sky. But time continued to pass, and no child came. This has taken its toll on his relationship with my mistress, Sarai. She has long grieved her barrenness and the silence from their God. You see, when silence stretches on, control can begin to feel justified. One night, I heard them in the tent. Sarai said to Avram, "Look, Yahweh has restrained me from giving birth." Instead of waiting any longer, Sarai decided to begin building up her family through other means. My mistress offered me as that means of bringing about the promised seed. And Master Avram listened to the voice of Sarai. I was not asked. I was taken. I was a possession. Sarai took me, her Egyptian slave girl, and gave me to my master Avram to be his wife. I've tried to block out that night when I was presented to Master Avram. I remembered the doorway of his tent and the darkness behind it. Not long after that, I realized I was with child. Something shifted. As the days grew into months, I became aware of life within me. For the first time, I was important. I was no longer empty, but carrying the future inside me. My pregnancy brought about a sense of unexpected power. I changed in status from a slave girl to a wife. A wife who carried something no one else in that household could. My pregnancy changed the order of the tent. What once felt settled began to shift. My mistress Sarai had carried the ache of barrenness for years. And now, the child of promise was going to come through me. Perhaps they believed their actions would restore shalom to the tent. But instead, it fractured everything. My mistress Sarai no longer stood above me as she once had. And if I'm honest, something shifted in the way that I looked at her. I began to despise her. When identity is fragile, another person's blessing can feel like a threat. Sarai noticed the shift as well. Her shame and insecurity hardened into anger. She blamed Master Avram. She said, "May the violence done to me be upon you." And she appealed to her God, Yahweh, to help justify her actions, saying, "May Yahweh bring judgment between me and between you." That is when I realized that I wasn't truly a wife in Master Avram's eyes. He told Sarai, "Look, your slave girl is in your hand. Do to her what seems good in your eyes." He removed himself from the situation and failed to advocate for justice. So Sarai oppressed and dealt harshly with me. The word for oppression used here will later describe Egypt's oppression of Israel. The wounded have begun to wound. I tried to endure her oppression, but day after day, the things that she said, the things that she did, became overwhelming. And so, when I couldn't endure the situation anymore, I did the only thing I could. I fled. I didn't know where to go. All I knew was to start going back home to Egypt. Found in the wilderness, I walked toward Shur, toward Egypt, toward what I had known before this household ever claimed me. I didn't know what was waiting for me there. I only knew I couldn't remain where I was. The wilderness is wide and quiet. The sun does not hurry, and the wind does not answer questions. I found a spring of water along the way, a small mercy in a barren place. I stopped there. I rested my weary feet, and it was there that I was found. A messenger of Yahweh found me and called me by name. Hagar, slave girl of Sarai. He knew both who I was and where I stood. He invited me to talk with him. He asked me, "Where have you come from? And where are you going?" No one had ever asked me that before. No one ever cared where I was going. I didn't know my future, so I answered only about my present. I am fleeing my mistress, Sarai. He didn't argue with me. He didn't dismiss my affliction. But he told me, "Return to your mistress and submit yourself under her hand." I didn't know what to say. The wilderness did not open into rescue. The hardship was not removed. So I said nothing. Yet he spoke again, not only of my present, but of my future. He promised me my descendants would be multiplied beyond number, just like Master Avram had been promised. He then told me I would bear a son. And he told me the name of that son, Ishmael. God hears. For Yahweh had heard my oppression. What had been done to me had not gone unheard. He told me my son would live free and untamed. His life marked by struggle, his hand against many and many against him. The future would not be simple. I was afraid and uncertain, but I was no longer unseen. I had been heard. Seen by God. So I called upon the name of Yahweh, who had spoken to me in the wilderness. No one had asked for my voice in the tent. No one had spoken my name with care, but in the wilderness I was seen. And in quiet awe, I gave him a name. El Roi, the God who sees me. For as I reflected on that moment, I realized I had seen the back of the one who sees me. I had been invisible in the house filled with promise. Yet in the wilderness, the living one came near. The place where I had stopped in exhaustion now became something else. It became a witness. So I named the well Bir Lahach Roi, the well of the living one who sees me. And I returned to Avram's household. In time, I bore a son, and Avram called his name Ishmael. God hears. Avram was 86 years old when he was born. The wilderness did not change my circumstances, but it changed me. I returned as one who had been seen. As we bring this to a close, Genesis 16 leaves us with this quiet. Yahweh does not abandon his promise. He does not abandon the oppressed. He does not abandon those who fail. He is the God who sees. And if you have ever been the one without power in someone else's story, Genesis 16 says something to you. God knows you. God sees you. So if this morning you're struggling with things in your life, maybe you need prayer, his invitation is open. The God who sees you today wants you. And if you've never known him, he's inviting you to come and know him, to be his child, and through baptism, to have a brand new life in him. If we can help you in any way, won't you come as together we stand and sing.